Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Ja! Hallo!
Hallo.
Willkommen. And
Hallo,
welcome.
Stefan.
Hallo, Björn.
Hallo.
Hallo. Wie geht's?
Gut, danke. Und dir?
Servus. Und dir? Ich bin gut, Björn. Ich hatte Arbeit diesen Morgen. Dann
Du hast gearbeitet heute, ja?
Ich habe gearbeitet, dann habe ich ein bisschen geschlafen. Und dann, dann musste ich zu meinem Gas-Termin gehen.
What?
I have a soda stream. I'm a big seltzer boy. And I have a service here in LA where I fill my soda stream bottles for cheap. But I have to make an appointment, do it online, and go to this lady's front yard. And in her front yard, she has lockers with your number on it. And then I open it, take my gas canisters out, and put my empties in and close the locker.
Oh, this is very conspicuous. How much do these go for?
Per exchange, you saying?
Yeah.
It's $10 unless there's a discount, so it's $8 per can.
That's significantly cheaper.
Bingo. Because
I
if you
think
go to
it's
Staples,
it's 25, right?
It's 15 to 20 to 25, depending on where. I think
Yeah,
15,
yeah,
but with
yeah,
tax
yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
essentially you look at 20. So this is half the price.
That's
So-
incredible. Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you. You know I'm always looking. You know I'm good.
You
being
are
economical.
a thrifty German man. Yeah,
I'm a thrifty German man.
more so than me. I don't.
Well, my parents, just like your parents, were kids, right? Your parents were probably older than my parents. but-
My parents are born 47, 48, so they are.
Yeah,
just,
that's my
just
parents.
after. Okay.
Well, my dad was born in 44. My mom was born in 52 or 53, I think. So they're around the same generation.
Yeah.
And my mom's dad, who was an alumni of this war, he lived the thriftiest thing. He was all about he would go to the market, get fruit and can it, and then come home, go to his basement, the cellar, and he would put it in the back, put the older ones up front, write in his little journal the dates. He was efficient to a T. He had shoe cleaning material, so he only had to buy one pair of shoes his whole life. He just kept cleaning and renovating his one pair of shoes over and over again.
Yeah. My grandmother would mend socks. Like if socks had holes, she would
Right.
fix them. That nobody does that now.
No, because everything is cheap. We live in a world of waste.
Everything's
We live in a world of
disposable.
excess.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was nothing to be had, so you had to grab what you could, and that mentality was my parents, and then I grew up that way, and it's not the American mentality. It's the German. It's like a German post-war mentality. That
is the German post-war mentality of going to the Russian woman's yard to exchange your soda stream.
Yeah. How do you know she was Russian? Yeah.
I don't know. I just made that up.
What I
Is
will
that
say
true?
though is no.
Is
she's
she
not
Russian? Oh,
I mean, she could
okay.
be my background.
I had a memory of you saying that. Maybe not. Okay.
No, I wish. I don't know why. No, but as a kid, we've done this before, but I grew up drinking seltzer water, which in Germany is very common.
that's a big thing. My parents do that too. I'm not a big fan, although I do have a Spindrift here right now, not a sponsor.
Nice. Not yet.
But in general, now in my older age, I'm more into seltzer. I wasn't traditionally. I prefer the flatter water, which in Germany is unusual.
Yeah. I as a kid, God, we talk about this all day. I definitely drink more seltzer water now. I've always liked seltzer water. I got more into it as an adult. It's a good health drink. It's like peppy and exciting, but it's not any less healthy than water for the most part, other than the gas aspect to it, And here in the States, it got really popular as part of the health craze.
Yeah, right.
When I was a kid,
recently.
it was unheard of. We would buy it by the case at a Polish place when I lived in Philadelphia as a kid, and that was, most people weren't doing that. That was a foreigner special that we were doing. Seltzer water, drinking a lot of it. It's good. Anywho,
Yeah, even just having drinks by the case, I feel like is not something that happens here. Like you would buy a case of beer, case of seltzer, because it's all you have to
you have to bring the bottles back.
Fund. What is
fund?
that?
Deposit.
The deposit. You have to
bottle
pay
deposit.
Yeah. Bottle deposit, exactly. And it's not like here where it's like 3 cents or whatever, and people are just throw it out, and then people dig through the trash to get these. No, it was significant. It was like 50 cents or something like that.
When I go to Germany,
you wouldn't just throw them out, so you would have to bring them back. So it happened by the case. You'd have like a plastic case with, I think, 4x4, probably 16 bottles of seltzer or beer or whatever it is, and then you have to bring it back.
And we did that in Philadelphia as kids at this Polish place, very unknown of, and that's still common now. When I go to Germany, I'll go to a gas station, buy a Coke, and then I'll just leave the plastic bottles somewhere. I'll throw it away, and that's unheard of. Like mine's the only plastic bottle there. It's just I don't know where to go. I'm only there for a week or whatever, so I don't. This kind of infrastructure can't be part of my vacation.
It's no good. Yeah.
I can't save my bottles and then go return the deposit.
You're not going to drink a case of seltzer during your 3-4.
But as a kid, I remember water was just hard to come by. Because here in the United States, water is everywhere, right? It's just water is free. It's tap water.
Yeah, they give it to you. You sit down in a restaurant, they give you a glass of water. They don't even, no questions
asked. I was a kid. I was so thirsty in Germany. It was just apple juice and seltzer water over and over again.
Yeah.
Let's get you more apple juice, get you more seltzer water. And I was just like, where's regular water? Can I just drink water? Just remember being like, do people not drink in this country?
Yeah.
And that's just what it felt like.
Water fountains are not really a thing in Germany. No.
Daniel Young. Sorry, Bjorn. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Oh,
Daniel Young says, hello, guys. Thank you for telling us your story. Thank you. I'm hesitant to do stuff like this because we're trying to be more time economical, and I love sharing these little stories, but I could wander and I could
the cultural differences. Yeah, we could talk about Getränkehandel, the way that but I mean Derek Ray does the same thing, right? When he commentates on German, it's a little I'm a little over Derek Ray, I have to say. It's like
I love Derek Ray. He loves Germany, man. Give him some spirit.
Yeah, all right. He loves it a lot. And he loves to enunciate too and show off his vocabulary. I find it, I get a little annoyed.
You know how Bill Nye is a science communicator and Neil deGrasse Tyson has taken that on as a science communicator. Their job is to like take scientific concepts and keep it simple. And Derek Ray is the German foosball communicator.
Do people like Twitter. It though? I mean, it's hard. It's hard for me to. It's obviously I'm being from Germany. I have a specific reaction to it. I wonder, as to an American audience, is this a value add? Are like, oh yeah, I wanted die Schwarz-Gelben. Oh, I have to. He has to refer to that team as die Schwarz-Gelben.
Schwarz-Gelben.
And eight times. Hans Wolf, welcome.
The party is happening.
It's all happening. See, yeah, I don't know. It's too much for me.
I'm okay with it. I like it. For someone not from that country, it's good to have someone like I don't know all the cultural milieu of Germany like you do. I know a little bit through my parents and my parents' neck of the woods, but it's a pretty narrow viewpoint. So for Derek Ray to offer that, I'm okay with that. That's a little pepper to my steak. But Hans Wolf and Daniel Young, if you guys watch the Bundesliga, how do you feel about Derek Ray?
How do you feel about Derek Ray and his Germanisms?
Offering the words
constantly.
Dosenöffner.
Oh, die schwarz-gelben, the black and yellow in the ups. Yeah, I don't know. That's
He's a saxophile.
It's just a very kind of old school. Anyway, all right, but that was just sort of my segue to. Let's just say what happened. Thomas Tuchel, genius, tactical genius, waltzes in, strolls in with whatever he was wearing. Two days of training, turns it all around. Complete domination.
He had a very normal Trainingsanzug on. He had a very normal training gear on. We didn't have a bonkers, whatever. He was like, I took the note. I'm going to wear. Yeah. But that's how he dresses when he's with Chelsea. That's also
he was wearing the merch. The black and red merch to the game.
Like we already said in the past, that makes no sense for coaches to wear it, but it's fine that they do. It's the old, I'm ready to go. I can put myself on at any moment if I want to, which is not true.
They're not training. He's not gonna put himself in the game. He could just wear a suit, but yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah, you absolutely should break out the rum.
What is this? The
Gosling's Bermuda Black Rum. That sounds good.
Yeah, it's a party time. Is it? So I'm not a big drinker. It's not Ryan Gosling's Bermuda Black Rum. That's a stupid question.
We're assuming. I don't know. Daniel Young, Mrs. Dortmund winning the league. You and me both, man.
Both, brother.
I mean, I was being facetious. Obviously, Tuchel takes little credit for this. Gregor Kobel had more to do. I mean, but this is how this goes, right? There's a lot of hype. We had the international break to get hype for this game. Dortmund was in front. We're like, this is going to be something, because often this happens, right? Der Klassiker, over the last few years, der Klassiker, even just that word. I mean, it's not really.
The record is abysmal. They've shared it.
The record is abysmal. It hasn't always been a classic. It has generally not been competitive. No. But people are desperate, right, for any kind of competitiveness in the Bundesliga, so they hype up this game. But this year, Dortmund was actually ahead, so there was something to that. We had a couple weeks to get excited, and then it just goes the way this often goes, which it was over 20 minutes in.
Well, this is the first. So as far as the record goes, on the last 10 or 15 things, Bayern München won 8 of them. Right, and then Dortmund. Then there was one tie and Dortmund won once, so it's not really a Klassiker because Dortmund is failing with a capital F. This year was finally the one where it's like, oh, this is real, and Dortmund was supposed to do better. Is the pressure too much? Because in the 10th minute, or the 11th minute, Gregor Kobel, Dortmund, he just misses the ball and it bounces back into the goal. 1-0 Bayern. It's like, what the.
Brutal.
Frick, man.
Brutal.
Yo, it's just the big game.
Brutal. It counted as an own goal too. I thought that was curious.
Well, no one touched it.
It seemed like he touched it.
Yeah, he touched it, but
no one else touched it. Yeah, he just completely whiffed. But I think
but what is that?
I think Leroy Sané was being nice to Upamecano and didn't touch it, but he could have. I think if he had known it would count as an own goal, he probably would have put a foot on it. Anyway, that doesn't matter.
But then there were 2 goals later. It was 3-0 by the 20th minute.
There was
this wasn't even a game at all.
It wasn't.
And Dortmund.
No, go ahead.
It's like, well, sorry, I was a little ranting here. I mean,
no, please.
I'm just like Dortmund again. It's like there's $1 million players, supposed to be the best players in the Bundesliga. They just can't handle that they're so mentally fragile. They need a psychologist or something. They choked it. When Dortmund has a big game against Bayern, they choke it 9 times out of 10. And it's like, you're not supposed to choke it. It's a big game. All right. I'm watching The Last Dance on Netflix, the Chicago Bulls documentary, right?
Oh, yeah.
Great documentary with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and them bringing their A game to make sure to win titles. So I watched Gregor Kobel run past the ball, and I'm like, what do they need to – they need a psychologist. They need a pump-up coach. They need some sort of mental preparedness to get together and go to war in this game. And they don't. They always surrender with the white flag. Let Bayern just run right all over them. What the heck is all about? What is that?
Well, I mean, you can say this is yeah. I mean, the Kobel thing. Everybody was like, "Oh, Gregor Kobel is back." That was supposed to be a plus because it was kind of a question mark, right? Whether or not he was ready. Nico Schlotterbeck was unclear if he was going to play, and they had everybody back. Julian Brandt. But
Gio
yeah,
Reyna?
after that, it's kind of like, yeah,
Gio Reyna was absent,
really...
by the way, because of a flu he got in Florida.
Well, I mean, he probably wasn't gonna start anyway. He hasn't been.
Oh yeah, I thought that was the main factor. If Gio Reyna was ready to go, it would have been 4-0 the other way.
Okay, all right. Yes, of course. I'm sorry to.
Note my eyes, the listeners. I'm doing my shifty eyes thing. I'm looking over and over. Yeah, Dortmund bottled it, didn't they? Bottled it hard. Now, like you said, so now Bjorn.
Yes.
How confident? I've been saying this is the do or die game. This decides the league, and you're like, no, it does not. This result does not decide the league. How confident are you with that statement? Do you think Dortmund still can come back and win it all?
Yes.
Okay, they have a tougher remaining set of games. I'll say that. Bayern still have Leipzig, but like if Mainz was any indication, I don't think Leipzig has much to offer.
Leipzig is not gonna. I mean, yeah, I don't know what I haven't looked at the schedule, but I mean, Bayern has struggled. Bayern has done well in the big games all year. They did well in the Champions League. They did well against Dortmund. They have struggled. They've dropped a lot of points against lesser opposition. So that could still happen. I mean, this is a big blow, of course, for Dortmund's confidence, and especially in the way that they did get defeated. But I think, I mean, it's 2 points. They could still come back. I mean, I said last week, I do believe in Thomas Tuchel. I think he's the right man. He's the right man for the job. So it could also mean that this is coming together more. But yeah, I don't know.
The other factor is Bayern München still have Champions League, so they have more on their plate. Where Dortmund only has the Bundesliga and the Cup.
Yeah,
they both have the Cup.
And they can, right, they focus on that. Yeah, I definitely think it's still possible. Certainly, yeah.
The other thing we should be happy about is of all the major European leagues this year, the Bundesliga is the only competitive one.
Yeah.
England is done, right? Arsenal's up by what? 9 points, 10 points?
No, 7, but with City have a game in hand. Or 8, I think they're up 8 with City has a game in hand. That's
quite a gap. Spain is done. Barcelona's up also by around 8. Italy, I think Napoli's up by 15 or something. And in France, PSG is up by 6. You know, like there aren't name a league that's where. Give it up for the Bundesliga this year. Usually, it's
this has been a great season, and we were so pessimistic early on. Yeah, no, this has been good, and it still is good.
Yeah, Dortmund and Bayern are in a league of their own, but Dortmund's still there. And
Bayern on the road.
Competitive.
Bayern on the road in Freiburg next week. They could easily tie that game. It's entirely possible.
I think so. Freiburg's in good shape. The bottom of the table is also pretty dang exciting. Bochum is on 2 wins and a tie, right?
A beautiful, shiny road point we brought back from Frankfurt. I didn't think that was going to happen. You watched the game. I watched the game. I mean, Frankfurt has to be like, what happened? How did we not win this? But here we are.
You know what I love about Bochum? Bochum remind me of Iceland 2016. Their goal came from that throw-in, right?
That is faint praise. Oh, but okay, yeah. Explain, please.
Well, Bochum had a throw-in. They hold tight. The way Iceland operated, and Hans, we'll get to you. Question, a quick second. I see you. But the way they operate is like they hold tight, and when the few opportunities they have off set pieces and throw-ins, they capitalize on it. And their goal came from a throw-in. They took a throw-in, grabbed it, Much to Oliver Glasner's dismay, he was a little bit too ahead, if you remember.
Oh,
Glasner
very much. He was totally right about that, but
yeah, but you're never going to call that. He comes, he treats like a corner kick. Great throw in, long throw right in the box, headed in the goal, right? And then off the goal and a rebound, I believe is what it was. So, something along those lines. But he threw it in the box, created a little chaos. They got the goal, and they got that off the one throw in that they were given in that moment. Because like we're only going to get a few throw-ins, maybe a couple set pieces, maybe a corner kick. That's our game. Those are our chances. And they capitalize on those. The United States national team could take a big page out of that book. And I appreciate that. And it's working. They're getting points that way.
Yeah. Big game this weekend at home against Stuttgart. Stuttgart just switched coaches. Bruno Labbadia is out. Sebastian Hoeneß is in. This is a big one. There is no... there's no middle ground here. If Bochum win this, they're in very, very good shape. And if they lose, they're right back in it.
Well, how would Derek Ray call this game? The Sechs in England.
It's ein Abstiegskampf. Ein Sechs-Punkter im Abstiegskampf in der Bundesliga.
We have Abstiegskampf. With Stuttgart just wallowing away. What's going on in Stuttgart? Let's see if Sebastian Hoeneß can turn things around as the coaching carousel continues. Okay, Hans Wolf, 4 generations of family rum expertise. Excellent. Sorry to go off time, but you guys will watch the Copa del Rey tomorrow. How about the U.S. Open Cup match tomorrow? I know there's CONCACAF Champions League tomorrow. But who's Copa del Rey? Is that going to be
Copa del Rey? That's
Classico?
That's Spain. Yeah, that's Spain. Yeah.
Is it the 2 big ones?
Is it? Yeah, it's another Classico. Yeah. Barcelona won the first one 1-0, and now it's I think in Madrid, and now they're in Barcelona for the return leg. Well, sure, I'll watch it.
Running away with it. Yeah, I love that game.
There's also some Premier League tomorrow. So much soccer. The international break is over. Abstiegskampf, Hans Wolf says.
Yeah, it's the Open Cup. We could talk about that in our next hour. I'm trying to think who's even playing tomorrow. The little boys.
The MLS teams are not there yet.
No, not yet.
It's still the minnows. I love the Open Cup. I love when. Because usually NYCFC plays in Queens or in some smaller stadium. It's always a fun time. I'm a big fan.
The Manhattan SC are playing the Flower City Union.
Oh yeah, Manhattan SC have survived the first round. I almost went to that game, but I didn't.
What's the Flower City Union? Is that Philly's junior team? What is it?
I don't know.
That's the beauty of the U.S. Open Cup. The U.S. Open Cup. I know this is the wrong hour, but the U.S. Open Cup is one of the oldest soccer competitions in the world. It's like it's almost as old as the FA Cup.
Yeah.
We go athletic.
Also, Hans is saying he doesn't care about El Clasico. He cares about Atletico Bilbao.
Are you Basque?
Osasuna.
He is Club Bilbao famously only plays Catalan players.
NYCFC legend Andoni Iraola, if I'm not mistaken, he came from Bilbao, right? Didn't he? He was a Basque person. He was one of my favorite players
Catalan,
early
right?
on.
Or did I get that wrong? I think Bilbao. Let me look this up right now. So I want to get this right. Athletic Bilbao is one of those traditions clubs where they only sign.
Yeah, they used to. They only
sign.
That might be true. It's definitely in the north. I know that.
No, it is. It's in Basque country.
It's in Basque country. It's in the north. Yeah, it's definitely in the north. I thought it was Basque. And they used to only hire local kids. And I think Iraola was one of them. He was signed for NYCFC in the early Pirlo days as a right back, and then Patrick Vieira in a stroke of genius converted him to defensive midfielder to basically be Pirlo's bodyguard, and now he's a successful coach. He was actually nice. People were talking about him as a potential for a Premier League job. He coaches Rayo Vallecano in La Liga. Anyway,
Rayo Vallecano. You know who was one of Rayo Vallecano's best goalkeepers in the 90s, Bjorn?
I don't know.
Casey Keller.
Oh wow, okay.
They had a big bumblebee on their kit. Yeah.
Anyway, that was my a little bit of Atletico Bilbao trivia.
So yeah, their entire roster is people from Spain, except for one who plays for Ghana, but he was born and raised in Bilbao. So I believe the Bilbao policy still holds. It's rare to see that. Chivas de Guadalajara, Mexico, had that policy where only Mexicans could play, but they opened that up where you're allowed to have a little Mexican heritage. So I think they have some Peruvians, some Americans on their team with they're still related to it. And here in the States, you couldn't do that. That would be work discrimination. But elsewhere, it's tradition and it's done well. And more power to them. I love it. I love looking at a Spanish team and the entire roster is Spanish. I don't know. Maybe I'm old-fashioned that way. I think it's cool. I know it's a little limiting, obviously, but more power to them. More power to them. Anywho, please, Hans, tell us how it works next week. Come on. Give us the Copa del Rey.
Daniel Young thinks NYCFC could do that. I'll have only academy talent.
Yeah,
all right.
Do that pretty much.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, NYCFC too seems like it's mostly local.
As
local kids.
Yeah, as it should be. As it should be. But anyway, let's go back for a little bit. We'll talk a little more Bundesliga, and then in the next hour, we'll talk NYCFC. Also some little LA Galaxy talk, a little preview. I got some footage from the game. I'd love to talk about some stuff about that. So as far as Bundesliga goes, I did want to bring up the Mainz game against Leipzig. Mainz is crushing it.
Oof.
It was 3-0 in Leipzig, I think, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. And they are still, there's just something in the water. Whoever is their psychologist needs to go up to Dortmund and tell them how to do it.
I mean, on paper, Leipzig is at least the third best team in the Bundesliga, right? If you're just looking at the squad.
Well, tomorrow Leipzig is hosting, or Wednesday, Leipzig is hosting Dortmund in the Pokal.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Our German Copa del Rey. So Leipzig and Dortmund, the battle of the frail, the battle of they should be better, going head to head on Wednesday. I think
the
Dortmund
battle of the frail. Das Verfolger Derby.
The followers derby. I think Dortmund should probably get that one, but we'll see. Yeah, so Mainz was a thing. I also want to bring up that Hoffenheim, our friend Pellegrino Matarazzo.
That was a big win for them. Of all the relegation teams, the only one to win this weekend, and that obviously makes a big difference.
And it was a close call. Did you see the last minute of the game? The very last minute of the game. So they were leading 2-1 against Werder Bremen, which is doing great. They're having a great season this year with Nicholas Füllkrug and the gang.
Yeah.
And at the very last minute of the game, it was 2-1 to Hoffenheim. There was a handball in the box. So Werder Bremen was given an Elfmeter, a penalty, a PK, to tie it up. And then Pellegrino Matarazzo has face in his hands. He's so unhappy. They're about to bottle it. 1 minute left, and they got a freaking penalty. And then, what do you know? The Kölner Keller calls up the ref and says, hey, right before this pass, right before this handball, the guy was offside. So they go and look at the VAR, and they were saved by VAR. Turns out the play before the handball in the box, which was a very open, blatant handball, there was an offside pass just about that should have been called, and that second play should have never happened. So VAR to the rescue. VAR gives Hoffenheim 3 points, and Pellegrino Matarazzo hopping up and down. It's 2 wins in a row for the American coach. Pellegrino Schnitzel
Matarazzo. Well, I mean, I cannot. I'm now that he's really in direct competition with Bochum, I can't be rooting for him like that. I wish this hadn't happened. I wish Füllkrug would have scored the penalty. 2 fewer points for Hoffenheim. But all right.
Well, how about this? Let's compromise. Schalke and Stuttgart go down. Hoffenheim and Bochum stay up. How about that? One gets in the relegation derby, the relegation
and
playoff.
Hertha. I mean, right now it's Hertha, Schalke, and Stuttgart. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, let them all die. All the big clubs in Germany are failing. just not doing well. It's crazy.
Bochum and I mean, really, if Hoffenheim went down, nobody would be too upset.
Right.
So
yeah, Hoffenheim is right.
I think
the proto Red Bull team.
I think people, yeah. I mean, we like Pellegrino, but
Schalke though and Stuttgart. I mean, that's Schalke's seen better days. They need help.
Well, they were on a pretty good run, but now it seems like they got creamed at home, 3-0 against Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen now maybe coming back. I don't know. It's
Xabi Alonso is working over there.
All these Verfolgers have been struggling.
If Bayer Leverkusen started ridiculous, they had like 5 losses in a row. Yeah. Xabi Alonso comes in, takes him a while. But it's finally clicking. Xabi is working, right? He beat Bayern München. They beat Schalke. Bayer Leverkusen's on a little bit. They're the only other German club left in Europe. They still got Europa League. Bayer Leverkusen, if they can keep up consistency through to next season, perchance, the Xabi Alonso thing is working. It's working down there. So good on you, Leverkusen boys, for your Xabi Alonso thing. I text you this real quick. As far as not see if any other games to cover, there's a little juicy, hot bit of news. Speaking the Leverkusen's neighbors, Köln.
Oh, right.
Have a FIFA transfer ban. Because I think they spent.
What did they do wrong?
$60,000 too much on a guy, or so. I think they enticed a guy when he was 16, which is against the rules or whatever. You have to be 18. Some ridiculous. And the reason I bring it up is because, Man City and Chelsea and PSG spent billions of dollars on player money that clearly didn't the revenue didn't generate.
$60,000, 60,000 euros is enough.
Köln is like, FIFA's like, Köln, how dare you? You sign a player, how dare you? Punishment to you, Köln. Yeah, no, 100%. Hans Wolf, how do you feel about that? Do you feel screwed? What do you think? You think it's a joke? By the way, the original Klassiker was Real Madrid versus Bilbao. English language is foreign because we're fancy about that. These days, we all know the Barcelona. Right, it's like the original Der Klassiker because that was the Basque competition. I imagine Barcelona versus Espanyol was also a much bigger game back in the day. Espanyol being the other.
Well, Barcelona are kind of the upstarts, right? Over the last however many years.
Upstarts? What do you mean? Like they're the.
Well, they weren't always good.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's been a
they
while.
They were good for a long time. I mean, I don't know. They've always been good since I've been around. I always remember.
Well,
that.
Yeah, but like if you go way back, anyway, yeah.
Well, again, this is not the Spanish hour, but from my limited understanding, back in the day, the royalty offered like their favorite clubs were all the royal clubs. Real Madrid, Real Betis, Real is Spanish for royal. Real Salt Lake. I'm joking. That's just an homage name, but like
Salt Lake,
and Barcelona was like, no, you ain't Real nothing. Granted, it's not very, it's Barcelona, Madrid, little history lesson here. The Catalan country and Basque country and Madrid, they're not best friends. They're like more north to south than here in the U.S.
Yeah.
They're very tough. The Catalan even has its own national team. The Basque has its own national team. They play this weird. That's why the Spanish team never won forever, because they just never got along on the team. And then someone binded them together, and they finally won the World Cup in 2010. That was like a very unique thing. It took them years to finally get along. With FIFA being so corrupt for so long, they have some nerve trying to be holier than thou. 100%, Hans Wolf. 100%. Speaking of FIFA,
penalize your club for over 60,000. That is crazy.
Something like that. Something ridiculous. Also, the whole you can't scout a kid when he's 16. They're all doing that. I mean, when Neymar went to Brazil, they gave his dad a job, and on paper it was like, oh, they just happened to move here because his dad had a job. It's all a scam. It's all a big scam. FIFA pretending to regulate it. It's all
a big scam.
You want kids?
DFB Pokal this week. Der DFB Pokal is this week.
We have one set of minnows and then 3 sets of the big boys, right?
Frankfurt Union, Bayern, Freiburg. It's funny they're playing each other twice in 1 week. This one is in Bayern, then this weekend is Freiburg hosts, and then we have Nuremberg, Stuttgart as sort of a derby, local rivals, and Leipzig against Dortmund, the derby of the frail, you called it. Yeah,
the frail mentally derbies. Kobel is going to do a spill, and then the other goalkeeper, it's not Gulashi, is it the guy who's replacing Gulashi? He'll do a spill, and they'll just be spilling back and forth at each other. We'll see. Yeah, Pokal. Okay, one last. So if Bayern has to win one game between Freiburg, which one should they win? The cup or the league?
The cup.
Okay. All right, so they can keep in title of their treble, the triple, the treble.
Take a point on the road. That'll be fine if they had to pick one.
Okay, so before this week, the German national team played a game. They played a friendly again. They played a friendly against Peru.
You really
nice 2-0 home win. And then they had a home game in Köln, Hans Wolf, your hometown, versus Belgium, the Belgian Waffle. That was not a good game, dude.
Well, I got the time wrong, and so I tuned in 15 minutes late, and they were already down 2-0.
Yep, I think me too. The Belgians, the first half was all Belgium. Germany couldn't even get in that game. But like the second half, they came out swinging. They pulled a couple goals back, but they're at home against Domenico Tedesco's Belgium, who I don't have great thoughts about Tedesco. He broke Schalke. They've never been the same since. Never been the same since he left. His time at Leipzig, he got rid of Jesse Marsch just to do the same crash. He just does the thing where he crashes. So him with Belgium coming to Germany, winning 3-2 was probably a big feather in his cap. But the German national team is struggling, man. What's going on with those guys?
It's not in a good way. Well, this was kind of an experimental lineup, right? They had Kehrer and Ginter as center backs. That was clearly not working. Also, the midfield was kind of odd. Kimmich and Goretzka as the double pivot. Florian Wirtz, for the first time in a long time, he really was the most kind of. I mean, Hansi Flick took him out at halftime, or he took him out 32 minutes in.
Well, Goretzka was taken off because of an injury around that time.
Well, no, Goretzka came off for an injury, but then Wirtz came off at the same time for tactical reasons, because Belgium was just waltzing through the midfield, and so he brought in Emre Can, the surprise winner of this international window. I was kind of last week was like, what is he even doing there? He's the past, not the future, but he definitely was well needed as a defensive midfielder. He had a good game. He things really kind of turned around. Füllkrug came off the bench. He scored again. He has like 6 goals in 6 games or something like that. He's been great. And I mean, they made it interesting. It was kind of they didn't give up, and they almost come back. So there were some positives in the end, but there's just a bunch. Like, there's just no depth now. Like you can just, if you don't have good, like having not having Gundogan in the midfield, it's just the kiss of death. There's just no coherence.
Marius Wolf, who's been a kid reborn in Dortmund.
Good, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was there, and he wasn't really. He still needs to maybe get his feet wet. Nicholas Füllkrug is becoming a real number 9, which is nice. He had a little bit of a quiet game, but overall, we got a number 9. His name is Nicholas Füllkrug, at least through the 2024, because Germany is preparing for the Euros, and they have no competitive games until the Euros start, unless there's Nations League coming up. I don't really know. The schedule. Yeah, it's and how competitive is Nations League's games anyway? Really,
it's not working. It's not currently working.
They're there. The Germans are there, right? Florian Wirtz scored, I think, a double over the weekend. He's back, so hopefully, I think we're.
Yeah, I mean, he had a poor outing. He's coming back from injury. I mean, it's tough, but it's not. but he's kind of he's not a starter generally anyway. But there's like a lot of people on this team, like Timo Werner. I mean, come on.
Right, he's off form. Timo Werner's not the player he was before. He's still coming off injury, I guess, but he's not the same Timo Werner we remember. He needs to get back in shape. Gnabry, same thing. I'd love for Gnabry to get back into his best form again. Thankfully there's Ella there.
The younger player, that's what keeps this conversation going about the older, the Mats Hummelses and the Thomas Müllers of the world, where it's like the young players are just not making a case for themselves. No. When the starters are missing, it's like, okay, yeah, there's a big drop off. And so it's not a lot of it's a year and a little bit until this Euro. So yeah, I don't know.
Again, it's on the clubs. Like, develop players. Germany has a great reputation for playing your kids.
Not going to develop anyone in the next year.
Well, one can hope. By next year, some super kid just shows up. Why not? But what I'm saying is German clubs do a good job playing their kids, but maybe they're doing a bad job playing their German kids. They're just playing a lot of these youngsters they bring in, I like your Americans, like your Gio Reynas, like your Jude Bellingham, like your Bido Gittins, like they're playing other kids. I don't know what that is. I mean, it's for German kids to be more competitive. I don't know, but
maybe it's also just because you can see this there's a lot of there's a lot of sports that Germany used to be very good at that they have kind of taken a hit at lately. So I don't know if this is a generational thing, if people are just not as interested in being good at sports. I don't know.
Well, also, I'm very curious about. We should bring an expert on because it's like they build all these regional centers, right? There's a whole reboot, but Bochum doesn't have a youth squad. Didn't they shut it down for financial reasons? But does Bochum have a Bochum squad?
They have youth squads, but they don't have they don't have a second team anymore.
So they do have a youth, like someone from Bochum can go up the youth ranks and become a first team player.
All
right, that's good. As long as that's in play, as long as and then for Bayern München and Dortmund and all these things, loan your youth players to clubs like Bochum and Augsburg and Mainz. I'm sure they can find minutes for you somewhere. All I'm saying is there was a time when our depth was not a problem.
Yeah,
and that has slowed down slowly but surely, and I have noticed
that is not the case. Yeah,
German clubs are leaning more on foreign talent. Just like the issue was back in the late 90s and the early aughts. The reason they did the whole reboot in the first place. Because the clubs was just cheaper to buy a foreign player as opposed to invest time and money in youth. And then I feel it's slowly twisted back that way again. And they need to find a way to encourage the development. I'm noticing a lot of dual national stuff, right? A lot of young Germans who play for England and France as well. They're doing the whole U.S. A lot of
young Germans playing for England and France, like who?
Yeah, the Zane, not like both. There's people that play for both. What's the great German kid that was the English youth team guy? Now he's a German national team guy.
Who, Musiala?
Was it Musiala? Did he play for the English youth squads?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But who are the multinational? You're saying there's all these German kids playing for England and Spain.
What I'm saying, there's nationals, there's kids being pulled in either direction right now, and there's like how the U.S. is scouting Florian Balogun or whatever because he was born in Brooklyn for 20 minutes. That's the sign of a smaller nation. Germany shouldn't be doing that, but Germany's doing that now. They're naturalizing. And to me, that's a sign.
Well, they have always done that. It used to be the Polish guys, the Kloses and the Podolskis and the, those guys should have probably played for Poland if you.
Where are the Polish kids?
I know
them.
the Polish.
They stopped showing up too for some reason. I think Lewandowski made it cool to be Polish.
Daniel Young is saying Serge Gnabry, when healthy, is one of the best wingers in the world. I think that is very kind. That is very kind to Serge Gnabry.
Well, when he was in form, when he scored 4 goals against Tottenham 2 or 3 years ago, remember? That was the Serge Gnabry we want. That is one of the best wingers in the world. But we haven't seen that guy in a little while. We haven't seen him in a while. So I'd love for him to get back in that form again. I also love you spelled it Surge, like Surge, like a power surge.
Yeah.
And that's very apropos.
He needs a surge. Surge needs a surge.
So how are you feeling about the Nationalelf, the Mannschaft? How are you feeling about him in a year and a half? Or a little under a year and a half.
About him? I mean, there's absolutely no reason for optimism at this point. They keep losing.
Yeah, they do.
They don't really play defense. I mean, it used to be. That's what I was saying. What was I saying there to you in the text? Because Mesut Özil just retired, and I was saying how the German national team is honoring his legacy and his career by not playing defense.
Yeah, Mesut Özil, great career. I'm glad, we
don't have the. I mean, Mesut Özil, he gets a bad rap because he kind of he didn't have a lot of longevity, but he was a real paradigm shift for the German. I mean, he established a completely different style for the German team, almost single-handedly. This idea of such an elegant player, such a playmaker. Of a kind that we really haven't had before or since. Before or since. And I was a big fan of his. I mean, I got to see him play for Arsenal once in person, like just an incredible guy to watch, like especially live, like just such an elegant player, so calm on the ball. His career ended controversially, of course. Right. He really attacked the DFB for a lot of things and didn't get a ton of support from his teammates. So unclear what happened there exactly. But anyway, we don't have those kinds of. We don't have somebody like that right now. And that was a time when the national team really could play attacking football because they had a lot of quality. Now we have very little quality. We don't have a good defense. There's nobody who can score other than Füllkrug, who I guess he's establishing himself, but he was kind of a stopgap. He made the World Cup team at the last minute. So I don't know.
Musiala, I think, is the sort of our net. When we're thinking Mesut Özil, you think of Musiala.
Potentially that's true. That's true. He has a lot of talent.
I hope Musiala is the first of many. It can't just be Musiala. I'm hoping Musiala is the beginning of a new generation of youngsters coming through who are going to be that dynamic. Have the ball, go at a player one-on-one. Like Musiala dribbled through 5 guys. Was it against Peru or was it against Belgium? I forgot what it was. He did a move recently where I think I was texting you or where I said that's what Pulisic wished he could do.
He has a lot of he's incredible.
He does.
There's always talent. There's always obviously there's always talent, and they have good. I mean, even you look at the lineup and you're like, the midfield. I thought the Kimmich, Goretzka, Gundogan midfield is among the best.
Yeah.
Is among the best.
They need to figure each other out a little bit, though.
I mean, I don't know what exactly it is, but the results are pretty consistent now. Like the team's been pretty mediocre for really since World Cup 2018. For the last 5 years, it's been pretty.
I noticed
middling.
I noticed a shift in 2017. Remember when we won the Confederations Cup with our B team or a C team?
Yeah,
and we just destroyed it. That is a
very good point. That's what I was saying that to somebody. Yeah, the
after that happened,
the days where our B team could win the Confederations Cup are very much over right now. Yeah.
For 2018, they had Saudi Arabia as a friendly, and they won 2-1. And people are like, why are we playing Saudi Arabia? It's just like I noticed something was going on. Then the 2018 World Cup, bad. And then we've just never been the same since. That, if I had to be a dime store psychologist, I would say the bench won. They felt it was their time to play, and they were put on the bench again. And that caused a rift in the locker room. That compounded with Mesut Özil. So on the chat here, real quick before we move on, we have Surge Energy Drink brought to you by Coca-Cola. I remember Surge. There's a great documentary called American Movie. Have you ever seen it? Where a guy It's hard to describe. There's a great character named Mike Shank who passed away this year.
Yeah, and that's a legendary. That movie's legend.
Love that movie. Just rewatched it recently.
Very much
There's
so.
a scene where the guy's uncle needs food or whatever. So he's like, and they're from Wisconsin. They have a thick Wisconsin accent. Like, can you give him something to drink? Come on now. So his buddy Mike says, "Here you are, Surge, new from Coca-Cola." He's really excited about it. And his uncle, who's an older man living in a trailer, opens it, drinks it, and he goes, "That's good. That's some good drink right there." Rest in peace, Surge. But the question is DFB as corrupt as U.S. Soccer? I won't say they're as corrupt, but I think they're pretty tone deaf.
It's different. It's
because the whole Özil situation was very much that at the forefront. Mesut Özil said, "When I win, I'm German. When I lose, I'm Turkish." And what he was saying was, there's Turkish citizens in Germany still treated like secondhand citizens. And he really, he was going through something where he was really feeling his heritage.
Well, this was after he posed for a picture with the Turkish. I don't know. Erdogan. Is he a dictator? Is he
a populist leader? He's very controversial. Famously sued a German comedian for making jokes of him on air and stuff like that. Great stuff. And there was two players. There was Özil and there was Gundogan. Germany said apologize. Gundogan said, "I'm sorry, I apologize." But Özil's like, "Screw you guys. Fuck, pardon my first. Screw off." He's like, "I'm allowed to do whatever I want, man. Screw you."
Yeah, I mean, there was. I think you can see that. You could see that from both perspectives. I think there was also. I mean, it was a little. Yeah, it came off like his whole sort of retirement rant. I thought came off a little self-serving to me. I don't know. I'm sure. I mean, I also completely believe what he's saying too. I'm sure these DFB honoraries are probably, about how you would imagine. Yeah, exactly.
They're old, white, straight, male German hardheads. We know what that's like.
Who think they know everything. Yeah.
And there's a
so
very
I don't think
way...
I mean it's not as it's I think probably not quite as incestuous as US Soccer. They do cast a little bit of a wider net. I think it's a larger a bit of a larger organization. I don't know that they're corrupt, but it's like, yeah, I mean it's like everything. It's like old.
They don't care about the women's national team, for instance.
A bunch of old white dudes, yeah.
Where at U.S. Soccer, the women's national team is essentially their best property. Where in Germany, the German women's net is excellent, but I don't think the DFB cares that much about that.
They just extended the coach's contract
for the women's national team.
Yeah, because she's been doing very well.
Good.
Anyway, is that it?
Have
we done it?
I want to read Mesut Özil's tell-all. There's stuff that happened around that time that we still don't really know, and I'd love to. And I'm watching this Last Dance. 10 years from now, there'll be a really cool Netflix documentary about it all. I'm very curious the kind of nuggets that documentary would have. That's all I want to say. Cool. Yeah, I think that covers German Soccer Weekly. It's time to hop. We're hopping in the other stream. We're talking USA. We're talking US Open Cup. We're talking NYCFC. We're going to talk Galaxy. We're going to talk maybe a little Red Bulls. We got all sorts of stuff. CONCACAF Champions League. So hop over to the stream. But if
Gio Reyna's new underwear.
Reyna's underwear.
No,
all right.
That was
they have new kits.
I don't know.
Just as boring as the last one. All right. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Tell your friends. Tschüss. Bis nächste Woche.